Today, let's take a walk down memory lane. Not your memory or my memory, but the memories of Kirak, Nico, Einhar, Alva. The memories of Rayclast, Oriath, and beyond. Or more specifically, today I'm going to be talking about the Atlas memory system. First, by talking about what it is and how it works. Then, getting into some examples of things that I've found which are profitable. Of course, do be warned, this isn't super scientific. I did between 5 and 10 of each to get a good average, but if you really want hard scientific data, you're probably going to have to do hundreds. And you're probably going to have to control for things like map modifiers, whereas I was just alking and hoping for the biggest number possible. And of course, prices are subject to change. If you find this video a week or a month from when I release it, things could be double the price or half the price, so always do your research and check things for yourself. But first off, how do Atlas memories work? Occasionally, when you're mapping, you'll get this strange thing that drops. If you played back during Legacy League, it might remind you a little bit of a League Stone. And it'll say something like, Einhar's memory of crystal prisons. There are a series of modifiers that define the behavior. You take this Atlas memory, and you apply it to a map on your Atlas. From there, a path will snake out connecting to other maps. Depending on the memory, it connects to 4 or 5 other maps. However, it should be noted it does seem to always attempt to progress towards the top of the Atlas, so it won't go backwards or down. Unfortunately, while you do get to determine the starting map, the final map and every map along that path is randomly chosen from the connected maps, which can be slightly frustrating, especially for Atlas memories involving things like Breach, where you really want nice open layouts, and sometimes it just sticks your map in dungeon, which kinda sucks. On the other hand, if your Atlas memory doesn't actually care about the type of map you're running, it's not too big of a deal, and hopefully the AI for pathing can be improved in the future so that mechanics that significantly require open areas don't like to go to closed maps, because I've had that happen way too often. Then, once you've applied it, if you want to run it, you go over to the associated master whose memories you're running, and you just talk to them. They'll offer you a quest with a bit of well-voice acted dialogue. For example, did you know that Einhar and Oshabi are friends, and she's shown him her secret garden? But more about that a little bit later. You can use all the normal currency things on this map, Chisel, Alk, even Wallet if you want, though I don't necessarily advise that. There are also a series of special modifiers. This is because your Atlas passives do not apply to these maps. Also, I know that it looks like there's space to put in things like fragments and scarabs. That's a complete debate. You can't actually put anything in those slots. Because of the increased effective modifiers, these maps are significantly more dangerous than what you'll encounter in a normal tier 16 map. But it also means that you don't have to invest in Atlas passives if you want to progress through these mechanics. So if you've been wondering, what does it feel like to essence farm, or maybe fight some of the scariest essences that you've ever fought? You could check out Einhar's memory of crystal prisons. Others offer mechanics that you can't find on the Atlas at all, such as Alva's memory of reverse incursion, which, instead of you entering the Ancient Val Temple of Atzoatl, causes the Ancient Val to incur into your map. And the resulting fight actually reminds me a lot of Ultimatum. There are monsters spawning all around, you get some Val architects, and it's a pretty fun event. Unfortunately, it's not particularly rewarding, so it's really more of a novelty that you do once than something you want to farm. Though again, because prices on things are constantly changing, who knows, maybe in the future someone will find a super amazing money-making strategy revolving reverse incursion. Personally, I'd definitely be down to try it if they do. And that's the case for, unfortunately, a lot of these memories. They're more of novelties, really fun things to experience once or twice, maybe something to do with a friend, rather than a profitable venture to farm over and over again. Given that they're fairly rare, for most people this is probably okay. But what if you do want to make money on them? Well, there are a couple of options. Before I get into those though, a quick reminder that if you've been finding the video helpful, please leave a like. For more content, such as a guide on how to deal with one of the most dangerous arch nemesis mods, get subscribed and ring that bell notification to see whenever I upload. Or, if you want to see more content immediately, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts, where I talk about a variety of gaming topics not directly related to Path of Exile, including gaming news, reviewing indie titles, and much more. Before I get back to the video, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for the continued support. It really goes a long way when producing content like this, which is often done over multiple days because I have to do a lot of testing and iteration. More about how you can support at the end. For now though, let's talk about making money off of Atlas memories. There are 2 strategies that I've found which are effective at making money. Einhar's Memory of Crystal Prisons, and Einhar's Memory of a Sacred Grove. Einhar's Memory of Crystal Prisons will cause you to encounter rogue exiles that are encased in essences. How they got there, nobody knows. Maybe this hints at a future expansion where you become the essence monster. At this point, I've used so many that I probably already am. Now luckily, all of the amenities that you'd normally expect from an essence passive tree are here. The essences can't be released via corruption. They have higher tier essences, and monsters containing shrieking are of course duplicated. What this means is you won't just be fighting one extremely angry, powerful rogue exile with essence buffs, you'll be fighting two of them. So if your build is on the weak side, I don't suggest this farming strategy, because ultimately if your build isn't up to par, it's going to just be a 6 portal simulator and a massive waste of money. Unless you're really confident in your build, I also suggest that you run your maps white. The mods of a map make it far more challenging as they'll buff the exiles, but they don't actually make it more rewarding since the exiles are most of the value. As of the recording of this video, each Crystal Prison memory costs about 85C each. So if you do 5 of them, that's about 425C. And if you're liberally using remnants to try to corrupt stuff, then you can add on another, let's just say, 50 to 90 chaos in remnant costs. And this is what I got back, which is quite a large selection of essences. This is because every monster I fought had between 4 and 8. At 5 essences per map, 5 maps per segment, that's a lot of essences. Especially when we consider that most of them were doubled. Now the overall price shown here was 8.25 chaos, but that's not exactly how much you'll get for selling this. You have 2 options. The first of which is, you can sell it on TFT as bulk, tier pretty much everything up to deafening except for a few shrieking that have value, and sell it for about 7.6 divines. This would mean 4.6 divines in profit from 5 Atlas memories. Alternatively, you could get a little bit fancier, and use a method which I call the most boring way to make 2.5 divines in 20 minutes. This will yield significantly higher profits, but to explain more about that, check the video in the card right now. As the league goes on, deafening essences are continuing to rise in price. If demand continues to rise, then there's a good chance this will get more profitable over time. Though of course, the more people that do this, and the more people that have super strong builds that are able to trivialize it, then the less profitable it will get. You'll always be able to sell things very quickly via TFT if you use the bulk want to buy entire tabs channel. That's where people buy, as you guessed, entire stash tabs of things like essences. If you're selling them one by one, you'll get more profit, but it'll take a little bit longer. If you plan to do this a lot, I suggest either a damage over time build, as that negates most of the enemy's defenses, or something like a trapper or a miner. Just prelay all your damage and blow the essences up. A melee build like my Shield Crush Trickster is far from ideal, but that's what I'm playing at the moment, and I was doing this to test it more so than the strategy I was going to optimize around. Now, alternatively, if essences aren't your thing, or this just seems a little bit too rippy, and maybe you want to actually roll your maps, then I suggest Einhar's Memory of a Sacred Grove. This one is honestly going to be a bit riskier, as they're costing 1.7 divines each at the time that I tried this. However, I got back a very significant amount of life force. I also got 3 Sacred Blossoms, which allowed me to fight Oshabi 3 total times. However, that said, I also could have been unlucky. 5 is simply too small of a sample size to tell for sure. And while I've done about 10 other Crystal Prisons in the past and just not tracked things too closely, I haven't done too many of the Sacred Groves because they are 1.7 divines each, and I've seen them as high as 2.5 divines each. I would say if they're 1 to 1.5 divines, at current prices, they're probably well worth doing. After all the stuff I got back ended up selling for about 15 divines in total, and it cost me 8.5 each for about 7.5 divines in profit. This was also much faster since I only had to run 4 maps, and I only had to run into the Sacred Grove, kill everything there, and then leave. But again, if you're pretty broke and you only have 1.7 divines, I'd go with a different method here, because while I did seem to be roughly doubling my money from each one, you don't know exactly how those individual returns are going to shake out on a map-to-map or Atlas memory to Atlas memory basis. If you can afford to buy 10 or 20 of them, it's probably going to work out. I also found that these were much faster to run, so the divines per hour was significantly better than Crystal Prisons. Though, again, if I had a build that was more optimized for it, maybe something that could prelay damage and kill everything almost instantly, maybe this would have been even faster. If you want to get even more profit, then you can do some harvest crafting. as after all, it's the perfect excuse to roll the bases that you had lying around. So overall, Atlas memories are a really cool bit of content that was added to Path of Exile. Most of them aren't super profitable, they're kind of more of curiosities. But there are some methods that quickly make you multiple divines in profit. But keep in mind, prices are subject to change, so what's a couple divines in profit today might be even more tomorrow, or it might be even less. And so now I'm curious, what sort of crazy Atlas memories would you like to see in the future? Maybe a past League mechanic returning, such as Kadiro Perandus. Maybe just seeing absolutely insane stuff like 5 Beyond bosses on your screen. Let me know some of your thoughts down in the comments below. A special thanks to my patrons and YouTube channel members. Your support helps keep me independent and allows me to turn down things like sketchy mobile game sponsorships. You can do so for as low as $1 a month over on Patreon, or if you want to support me completely for free, then you can join the community by hopping into my Discord, link below. If you want more content, check out my second channel, 10 Gaming Thoughts. It's a place that I use to review games, ramble my way through video essays, and a lot more. Or of course, you can just click the suggested video in the card right now. I hope you learned something today, and maybe I'll see you again sometime soon.